Assalamu alaikum, Imam Lebron. Thank you for coming to ICHC, Winstar Sun Basic. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Passaic, New Jersey. Alhamdulillah, that was where I was born and raised.
What's some of the struggles you had growing up in your area where you were born?
So some of the struggles we had growing up in our area, of course, after some time, the biggest struggles were drugs, alcohol. I grew up in the crack era, right? So that was the era of my youth. So seeing a lot of that in the neighborhood, started drinking early on, smoking weed early on.
What year is that?
This was the late 80s, early 90s.
Just to bridge off of that, what were some of the positive and also negative influences you had growing up in the area? Positive and negative influences.
There were a lot of negatives. I don't think there were too many positives during that time, unfortunately. I had a lot of things working against me. Came from a broken home. So parents were divorced at an early age. I was about 10 when my parents got divorced. Ended up living with my dad. My parents did not communicate with each other because it wasn't an amicable divorce. And because of that, it put me in a situation that, it gave me the room to kind of finagle and kind of play both of my parents at times, because they wouldn't know what I was doing. And I was surrounded, a lot of friends, a lot of family. In that negative environment, of course, you're going to try a lot of stuff. So by the time I was in 7th grade, I was drinking frequently. And for the most part, family didn't know. Mother didn't know. Parents didn't know. My mother actually didn't come to know that I was smoking weed and selling drugs. So I became Muslim and told my story, right? SubhanAllah. I dropped out of school early. Junior year, I dropped out of school as well due to all of those challenges that I was facing. By the time I was 18, I had 2 kids on the way as well. Still trying to find out what I was going to do with my life in terms of career, job, taking care of 2 kids. Young man, barely knew how to take care of himself. My father, first generation to this country. So for him, he knew how to teach you to work. That's what he knew. Go to work, make money. Education wasn't something that they pushed because it wasn't something that they had. My father graduated from high school, but just barely. My mother graduated from high school, but just barely. And then they went out and they hustled and they worked and they made a living for themselves. So they never really pushed for us to go down that route. So when I dropped out, my father signed me out and he taught me what he knew best. You go work and you go take care of your family. Now you got kids. You don't have to go to work and go take care of your kids. Life's going to be tough for you, but you're going to have to figure it out. So the positives didn't really come until I found Islam, honestly.
So that leads into the next question. So when you first heard about Islam, did you ever picture yourself becoming a Muslim at that time when you first heard about Islam?
So when I first heard about Islam, I was in high school. I used to go to the barber shop that was owned by the Nation of Islam. And I remember he'd be cutting our hair and he'd have Farrakhan on the TV, basically lecturing. They would sell you a paper afterwards, you would buy the paper. But I would basically take the paper, throw it out. I really didn't see myself as a Muslim, especially back then. We didn't know what Islam was. We kind of related it to the black Muslims at that point. Really didn't even know what the Nation of Islam was. I didn't come to hear of Islam again until many years later, until I was like 2021. And at that point, I was involved in a gang, and then kind of at a gang meeting in New York City is where the brother, who's also Puerto Rican, Abdulaziz, he came and he talked to us about Islam in the meeting. And then I was like, okay, sounds interesting. And then afterwards, he invited us to his house because he was good friends with my friend. And then that's when he gave me my first book on Islam, the Book of Tawheed by Dr. Bilal Phillips. And he gave us a Quran. And then we went back and started to read that. And that's kind of where I was intrigued regarding Islam. And then intrigued that I need to go back and read the Bible and find out, what's Christianity really about? Because I really never learned that either. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, that's good, man. Bilal Phillips, man. I remember Bilal. Did your family's attitude towards you change after you embraced Islam? If so, how?
So when I embraced Islam, the attitude towards my family changed. The attitude of my family towards me changed a bit. I'm not going to blame them totally. I will take some of that blame on. You become, when you accept Islam and you find a new way of life that has helped to give you life and renew your life and help you transform and find something that you haven't had and a joy that you haven't had, you become a little bit zealous. and I had a little bit of that zealousness, and I would come to the home of my family members and Quran in one hand, Bible in one hand, thinking I was a scholar and this is the truth and this is falsehood, and didn't have the best approach. And then I realized pretty soon, within months, that my approach was the wrong approach because they were kind of pushing themselves away from Islam. And I'm like, why? I got the truth, what's going on? And I had to kind of re-strategize myself. And then I began to live Islam instead of talking Islam, and allow them to see what Islam did for me in my life. So when they saw that I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I stopped womanizing, I stopped partying, I stopped being in the streets, their eyebrows went up. Like, what's good? The first time I remember the first time we went out to dinner, and my mother, everybody's around the table and everybody's ordering their, the Corona, their wine or whatever have you. So she was like, Wesley, what you want? Get some soda. Like, oh, you're not gonna get some drink? I was like, nah, I don't drink anymore. And really, you guys shouldn't drink either. It's not good for you. I was like, what? Like, you don't drink anymore? This was like a staple in your life, and then at that point, they began to ask questions like, why? And then kind of I'll answer and leave it. And then my mother as well, in the beginning, we kind of clashed because of, she wasn't a religious person. My father either. My grandparents were the religious figures in our household. And because around that time, my mother also found Christianity for the first time in her life, and she started going to church. So she was going to church. She was zealous. I was going to the mosque. I was zealous.
Clash.
And we start crashing. So she kicked me out of her house. I left, stuff like this. It was bad for a few months, but then, alhamdulillah, we kind of started being around each other again. And then she kind of just started, I stopped talking again. She just started watching. So she started to see my movements, going around, helping people, doing things for others, changing my life. And then with that, years later, maybe about 15 years into my Islam, she sits me down one day and she says, I've been watching you all of this time silently. And I love what this faith has done for you. And I love what this faith is. And she had gotten to a point as well, like through watching me, that she was like, I believe that Jesus is not God. I believe that Jesus is a prophet. And I would ask her, so then why you go to church? And she would tell me, well, when I go to church and they say Jesus, I say God. I'm changing everything around. So I said, you're changing the faith, right? And then she said, I want to be Muslim. And she, she accepted Islam on that day, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So the mass organization, tell me about that.
So Mass Muslim American Society is one of the largest organizations in America in terms of an Islamic organization. They are the largest. They focus on youth. They focus on the political environment and how to engage politically in the climate in which we live in. They focus on reverts, dawah, and converts now, inshallah ta'ala, and then they focus on tarbiyah, education for Muslims, inshallah ta'ala, really giving them an educational resource. And that's one of, mashallah, their superpowers, alhamdulillah, that they have programs going on nationally across our 42 centers on educating the Muslims constantly, consistently, Quran, Sunnah, and the likes, alhamdulillah. And you'll find that even the youth, as they're coming up, they have a great foundation of Islam because of this tarbiyah system and model that they put in place. About 5 years ago, they approached me to come and work for them to focus on dawah and aftercare. And we created Reverts Reconnect. And within Reverts Reconnect, we have the dawah arm and we have the aftercare arm, because both go hand in hand, to go out and invite people to the Deen of Allah and explain to them what Islam is about, and to try to help people understand what Muslims believe in and who we are, and not necessarily to convert people. People convert not because of you, they convert because God puts guidance in their hearts. And then when they convert and accept Islam, then we have the very important arm of Reverts Reconnect, the aftercare, where now we have daily classes, we have, pre-Ramadan conferences, we take them on Umrah, we have mentoring, we have leadership building, leadership training, we have students of knowledge who are studying Arabic, the Quran, different aspects, Islamic studies, to try to build leaders within the Reverts so that we can go ahead and continue to duplicate the work that we are doing, inshallah ta'ala. So it became a very important arm now for Mass. So Mass New York was the one that developed it within our 10 centers in New York. And then now we are actually moving into a national model to be able to take this program nationally across the US, to make sure that every Revert has a place, one where they can kind of be integrated into the masjid, because sometimes they don't feel that they can be integrated into the masjid, or they don't feel like that's their space. So we kind of do workshops, sensitivity trainings and stuff like that, and teach the Muslims how to deal with these new Muslims that come in. Because sometimes, a brother may be coming out of jail, coming to the masjid, got tattoos on the face and all this other stuff. And the Muslim community is not accustomed to that, right? And to no fault of their own, they're not accustomed to that, so they find it strange. So we teach them how to maneuver those situations, and to integrate these people and let them feel loved and care for them. And then at the same time, we become a service provider, because we know that in the masjid, many imams are very busy. So they're not going to just focus on the reverts. So we become a service provider with all of the classes and stuff that we offer online. We can offer throughout the week, or they can offer, in that week as a whole. And then, alhamdulillah, we kind of partner and collaborate with them to make that work happen.
Good initiatives right there, definitely. So when it comes to the Latino community, as a Spanish viewer myself, I give dawah, and obviously I have some challenges. What are your challenges when it comes to the Latino community?
So with the Latino community, the two challenges that we have is the lack of resources, being the first one, meaning enough materials and books in the Spanish language, so that people can learn and educate themselves about Islam. The second problem that we have is that we don't have enough graduates, da'is, scholars, and writers to Islam that actually speak fluent Spanish, and have been trained to go out and talk with others, inshallah ta'ala. And I think that's, and then the third problem that we have is that we have people entering the fold of Islam so fast, both first language Spanish speakers and then first language English speakers, and then just trying to find a beautiful balance between both, where, alhamdulillah, we still kind of cater to the reverts in English, alhamdulillah, and then we cater to those who are first Spanish speakers, especially the elderly. I find that with the elderly, they're a little bit more disconnected because they're the smaller number, they're the minority. So really trying to figure out solutions for all of these things, because we're growing so fast within the fold of Islam that the problems are enumerating. So we're trying to figure out how to duplicate ourselves. And I think, the best solution is we have a lot of skill. We have a lot of talent in the Latino community, a lot of professionals. And it's just about how can we bring all of those individuals to one table and then kind of join all of our skill sets to be able to serve this population that is greatly needed to be served, inshallah.
Inshallah. Central and South America. What kind of reception did you get up there?
So Central and South America is amazing, man. Alhamdulillah, they're super receptive. It's actually one of the places that I've been to that I come and we offer some help, and we kind of sit down and have like a program with them. They'll sit down 45 minutes, an hour to listen to a lecture about Islam, and then afterwards kind of engage with you, take the material, ask you questions, you know what I mean? And they're accepting Islam. But like we've seen whole tribes of people in Honduras accept Islam, 25, 30 people, in one family, they accept Islam. I was in El Salvador. We went there for Eid. And when we experienced Eid here in America, we're the minority. And I experienced it last year in El Salvador. And actually the Arab community was the minority. So it was about 350 people, 50 Arabs, 300 El Salvadorian Muslims, born and bred, Spanish speakers from the country, subhanAllah, that came out to that Eid to celebrate with us. And it was just a beautiful sight to see that, subhanAllah, our people are accepting them. So, Islam in those numbers, mashallah. But again, how do we service them? How do we take care of them? And all those other things, because in many of these places like Honduras has like 5 or 6 masjids. Honduras is big, but there's no imams. Except in the main city. And then the imam in the main city, there's a masjid, they're just starting it, so there's no salary for the imam, so he's a businessman. Same thing in Costa Rica, there's a masjid, but he's a businessman, so he really doesn't service the masjid, he kind of does it as free, part-time, whenever he has time to do it, inshallah ta'ala. So we see that, subhanAllah, the people are coming, the people are interested, the people want to know, especially when they see that their roots connect back to Islam, because of Al-Andalus, because of the African Muslims and stuff like that, depending on the area where you come from. They find it amazing that, there is that connection, and that there's not really a difference between Latinos and Muslims, but that there's actually more similarities than there are differences.
I'm gonna say these names. I want you to tell me what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say these names, all right?
All right.
Okay. Che Guevara. Che Guevara.
Che Guevara, first thing that comes to mind, political warrior.
There you go. Imam Daniel Hernandez.
Imam Daniel Hernandez, mashallah, someone who was a gangster, guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now a leader in the community, doing good, and the total opposite of who he used to be.
Sister Wendy Diaz.
Sister Wendy Diaz, an amazing writer for children books and the likes, someone who has contributed a lot to the dawah in Spanish, especially in terms of translations.
Yusuf Rios.
Sheikh Yusuf Rios, alhamdulillah, someone who loves the deen immensely, loves knowledge, really a person who lives in the books. You know, when I say lives in the books, I remember the first time I met Sheikh Yusuf. He had a Toyota truck, and the truck was full of books on his dashboard, in the back seat, on the back floor, in the trunk. You know, I was like, man, I said, listen, is there any space for people to sit? The books got all the place, mashallah.
That's a good part of that. El Hajj Malik Shabazz.
Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, mashallah, tabarak wa ta'ala, the game changer in America when it came to Islam.
Alhamdulillah. Jaime Mujahid Fletcher.
Jaime Mujahid Fletcher, Islam in Spanish, opening up the first Islamic center for Latino Muslims, led by Latino Muslims.
You know, you're in Jersey, we're not too far. I'm in the boroughs of New York. Bronx.
The Bronx.
Give me one word. Bronx.
The Bronx. For me, the Bronx, mashallah, represents my change. I used to go to the Bronx to go pick up, pound of weed and come back and sell it. And now I go right back to that same area to give the khutbah.
MashaAllah. Look at that. Queens.
Just makes me think of hip hop, man.
Queensbridge, right?
Queensbridge, yeah.
Brooklyn.
First thing that comes to my mind is traffic, man. I hate going to Brooklyn.
That's why I walk.
But has the most amazing youth center in the country. We're talking about the most busiest center with youth. When you will go there, the masjid is just bustle and hustle. Young kids going in. Imam Siraj, Brooklyn is also Imam Siraj. Alhamdulillah, the one who changed Brooklyn. MashaAllah, went into the drug-infested neighborhoods and changed it completely. SubhanAllah, showing that the Muslims can't come into the society and change it.
Beautiful story. I heard that story. Beautiful
amazing
story. Manhattan.
Manhattan just takes me back to my roots, man. You know, I worked in Manhattan for a long time. Reminds me of 9/11 and the struggles that Muslims faced after 9/11 and how, you know, we had to get past those struggles, after 9/11.
Staten Island. Forgotten borough, man.
Forgotten borough, mashallah. That's what I call it. Wu-Tang, man.
Shaolin.
Wu-Tang. And now we got amazing Muslim centers there. We have our Mass Staten Island Center being built from the ground up. Another amazing youth center, mashallah, doing great things.
Real quick, Yankees or Mets?
I was a Braves fan, man.
Oh,
but my father's Mets, man. So
okay, man, you gotta take it. Giants or Jets?
Giants.
All right. So here, what is that one huge project that you have brewing in your mind that you haven't gotten to? That huge, somewhere in there, you're thinking about that project.
That one huge project that I got brewing in my mind that I haven't gotten to. SubhanAllah, there's so many projects, man, that we would love to get to, man. But the biggest project I think for me is really going into Central South America and the Caribbean and just making a change.
Okay, that's it. Perfect.